Over the last 100 years, the construction industry has witnessed incredible transformations. Mind-blowing technology, stunning architecture, and communities that have stood the test of time. W.E. O'Neill Construction has been right there, shaping and building across the nation. With offices in 6 states and projects spanning many more, our work has left a lasting mark in cities from coast to coast. So buckle up. We're diving into the projects, milestones, and incredible people that made W.E. O'Neill what it is today.
So for scaffolding, we have scaffolding up at the southwest corner, right? And it's going to continue wrapping around the building. That means our exterior facade work is happening. And as you come out of level 1, the guys are just going to exit sometimes without looking. You need to be aware of any overhead activities. The guys in the field have to have a head on a swivel. And it's our job to translate that information onto the field so that they're aware. We hear it all the time in these meetings, but you guys need to take that message and then it gets handed down to all the last apprentice. I see us as the quarterback of the project. We're the gel that connects the subcontractors who put the work in place and the client who has a vision and the design team who created that design into the drawings, right? So we have to put that all together. It's a little humbling to experience this milestone, as O'Neill has been part of my life for more than 10 years. And we want to take this opportunity to celebrate with our friends, our team members, and even our subcontractors. You know, it didn't just take one group to get here, it took all of us. As I'm sure it was 100 years ago, it all boils down to building great relationships.
Our values are more than just words on a page. They have been the bedrock of W.E. O'Neill, fueling the pride, ownership, and dedication that define our employees today. But to really understand how we got here, we need to turn back the clock. To the 1920s, a time of jazz, flappers, and a visionary named William Edward O'Neill. The company's journey began in Chicago, with Catholic churches and public projects built by a crew of skilled Swedish carpenters.
After serving a 20-year apprenticeship in a good variety of construction chores, W.E. O'Neill, aided and abetted by some very modest personal savings, set forth on a fairly bold venture. As things got rolling a bit, sales ran days into nights by staying out late with prospective customers at the local speakeasies in his hard endeavors to get on somebody's, almost anybody's, bidders list.
The way I remember him is traveling around with him as a young boy, and he'd be driving his big Packard and going out to job sites with refreshments for the workers on hot summer days. Refreshments like Coca-Cola and sandwiches and just something to cool them off. But that's the type of guy he was. He really cared about the men.
Our very first public project, the Primate House at Lincoln Park Zoo, completed in 1926 for $150,000. Just a few years later, in 1929, we tackled the massive Lane Tech High School.
This was one hell of a big job for a small emerging contractor. All of the concrete on this job was mixed in a small central mixing plant and transported in man-pushed steel-wheeled buggies for about a quarter of a mile on wooden runways in either direction.
With the Depression, the city of Chicago ran out of money, and this project was stopped. Each one of these certificates was in lieu of payment, and they could be redeemed at a later date. Well, here we are, and I still have a stack of these. If any of you need anything for framing or papering in your bathroom, let me know. We have a whole stack of them here.
Every job he had to succeed on and be profitable so he could do the next project. I could only imagine the sacrifices they were making, and I could only envision the fun they were having looking at the projects they were building in those early years.
When the Great Depression hit, everything came to a screeching halt. Then, the Chicago World's Fair threw us a lifeline. We got busy, really busy, building 5 major structures, including the iconic Ford Motor Rotunda. That project turned out to be our big break, leading to long-term partnerships with giants like Caterpillar, GM, Chrysler, and Ford. The fair's theme was a century of progress, and for W.E. O'Neill, it marked the beginning of a century of building and growth that's still going strong.
At the conclusion of that fair, the Ford Motor Company had us move the structural element to their exhibit spaces at Dearborn, Michigan.
Each year, more than 1 million visitors come to Dearborn, Michigan. They gather here at the Rotunda, a permanent guest house at the gateway to the Rouge.
They were able to do these things, and with that expertise and challenge, they could go out and get more work with those people.
The manufacturing industry in the Midwest, and particularly in Chicago, was taking off. So they started building facilities for the steel mills.
1935 saw William's son, Art, step into the company, working closely with his father and learning the ropes of the family business.
And they actually shared a desk facing each other. Any information that one had, the other one would learn from it. They had telephones that were across from each other. They'd listen in on each other's conversation, and it was a real one-to-one relationship.
Art behaved with integrity. He reinforced the culture of who we were, how we treated customers, how we built projects, how we treated our subcontracting community.
When World War II erupted, W.E. O'Neill faced new challenges head-on. We built crucial military infrastructure at the Great Lakes and Fort Sheridan, even as many of our young men served overseas. It was a tough time, but we persevered on the quality of our projects and our ability to adapt.
There was a lot of public works going on, and they were, like a lot of companies, really had to move around the country to survive, and they did that.
And it was during this time that William O'Neill introduced profit sharing.
What we define as a one-third, one-third, one-third. There weren't many companies operating that way. Of our company profit, one-third would pay the taxes for the government. One-third the company needed to retain for retained earnings to grow the company and support the company. And the other third would be distributed as bonuses and profit-sharing things to our employees.
Little did they know that MOVE laid the foundation for our 100% employee ownership today, a foundation built on doing right by our people, which remains the heart of everything we build.
100 years of building a reputation and maintaining a reputation of delivering high-end, high-quality projects for our clients is huge. In this market, reputation's everything. This isn't a huge market in Colorado Springs. It's a fairly small market, so our reputation is invaluable.
It's just building relationships with all of our trade partners and stakeholders. That's what makes O'Neill, O'Neill.
And that leads to repeat clients. And those repeat clients are expanding too. So where we started in Chicago with some very valuable clients, those clients are doing work all over the country now. And we get to benefit from those relationships we built.
As we deliver today, we delivered in the 1950s, driving innovation and growth through a time of rapid change and uncertainty. This marked an era of exploration for W.E. O'Neill. In 1950, Art took over as president, and just like that, we were off, exploring new territories and broadening the types of projects we took on.
We were what's called a hard bid lump sum contractor. We had a big estimating department. We were able to put a price to a large complex project. A lot different than the way business is done nowadays.
This Veterans Administration Hospital was built between 1952-55 and was the biggest single contract that our company had undertaken up to that point in its history.
They started building these toll roads and things around the country, and this heavy highway thing, bridges down in central Illinois, and got pretty stretched out in that period.
By 1957, severe flooding in Illinois destroyed much of our equipment, leaving us in debt and struggling to stay afloat.
Lost everything that we had in the bank and were in debt to the bank for a couple of $1 million. But to get out of the bank at that time and to get on with trying to salvage the business, Mother was good enough to sell our home and to move over into a pretty small apartment in Evanston. But out of that very painful experience, really, emerged some opportunities. And that's when we first began to gather our big cranes together. And that led us into really being more effective heavy and industrial contractors.
The 1960s saw us shifting back to vertical construction, delivering corporate headquarters for Fortune 500 giants like Allstate, Kemper, Zenith, Caterpillar, and John Deere. While the world looked to the stars with the space race in full swing, we were making our mark right here on Earth.
Art became very serious about total quality management, just trying to do everything a little bit better, just a little bit better, and always improving.
We made it a point to have partnerships with several large universities, Notre Dame, University of Illinois. That gave us insight into emerging technologies. O'Neill was one of the early adopters of critical path scheduling, CPM scheduling.
And doing right by the community was always front and center for Art. In 1972, he took on a bold challenge, partnering with French engineer Paul Dupont to shake up affordable housing with a cutting-edge precast system. The result? 500 units in Chicago, 300 in Rochester. And while others hesitated, Art O'Neill led the charge for inclusion, ensuring minorities had a place in the trades and setting a new standard for the industry.
Art often spoke about Mayor Daley calling Art and putting a team together of Mayor Daley, Jesse Jackson, and Art O'Neill to develop what was called the Chicago Plan. And that was one of the early affirmative action plans, designed to get more inclusive involvement in both contracting and the workforce.
I got here in like 85, and there were guys that had been with O'Neill 20 years. And from talking to those guys, they would give their right arm to the guy. That was unique for me.
And that legacy, it's still going strong. At W.E. O'Neill, managing trade partners means keeping everyone aligned, working together, and delivering for our clients. Because great projects are built on these great partnerships.
What are you, camera shy?
Always avoid camera. Evidence, man.
So I heard about the layout issue. Is it more of a discrepancy between the exterior and the interior layout crew, or do you think it's an actual issue in the drawings?
I believe it's in the drawings.
Okay.
When you take the two files, there's a clear offset in the walls on the plan.
Okay. So would a simple solution just be bump it over, makes this living room about 1.25 inches bigger, right? And then the client doesn't have any cost impact.
Okay. That would be exactly that.
Okay.
Modify to move that wall over.
Okay. We have a lot of repeated subcontractors as we do repeated clients. So for me, it's all about trust and transparency and building that trust from the very beginning and making sure that they understand our vision and our proactive approach to this job site and that we're here to help them. And for our team, thoughtful leadership to me is thoughtful relationships with our team members and helping them grow both personally and in the workforce. I still talk to Brad Fry to this day about believing in the underdog, right? That was the phrase that he used when he hired me, because I was an underdog when I got hired as an intern. I didn't know anything about construction, and I just got my green card, and it was my first opportunity to work in the States, and O'Neill believed in me and gave me an opportunity, mentored me, and got me through my career as rapidly as they have with thoughtful leadership and making sure that I felt like home. And I want to make sure I return that favor to all the team members that come under my team.
Through every project and every era, teamwork has been a foundation that holds everything together. As the 1980s dawned in a world of big hair, blockbuster movies, and booming businesses, W.E. O'Neill embraced the decade's momentum with large-scale, complex projects.
Right as I started in the early 80s, Art O'Neill's vision was to expand nationally for a lot of reasons. One, for growth. One, to balance the ebbs and flows of the economies in different areas of the country.
Art's vision, with Joe Rotuno's steady leadership and drive, pushed expansion into new markets, while Bill O'Neill focused on building a strong team in Chicago.
The smartest thing Bill did was surround himself with other very competent managers like Mike Farron, Conrad Ott, Ole Carawan. So it was really a joint effort of a senior leadership team.
So my dad met the O'Neill family in 1981, talked to him about starting an Arizona office, and that happened at the beginning of 1982. It was the first subsidiary of O'Neill outside the Chicago area. We really developed a strong market presence with hospitality in the 1990s.
And it wasn't shortly after I started in 1982 that Rich had a customer that wanted to build an office in California. So Rich went to California, executed that project, and decided he'd like to open up an office in California.
I threw my hat in the ring. Bill O'Neill was the president of the Chicago office at that time. Joe Rotuno was the chairman of the holding companies, and Art O'Neill was still very involved. In Chicago, we were an important player in our market. I came to California expecting everybody to know us. And lo and behold, we were just another one of the many contractors looking at the Los Angeles market as a great place to start.
When I started, there was 15 to 20 employees in California. One of our foundational items in the California office was working in the aerospace industry. It's kind of why our office was in El Segundo initially. That's where a lot of the aerospace companies are based. We started bidding the work there, developing relationships, and took on some larger and larger work. But we were also in retail, we did hotel work. It ebbed and flowed as we were a small company, but we tried to do work in numerous markets. One of our first large projects was in the late 90s. We took on a broadcast center for DirecTV in Culver City.
Very quickly, Brian Ramsey was taking an important place in our project management team. Certainly believes in treating people the right way, treating customers the way you should treat customers.
Back in Chicago, W.E. O'Neill, already known for our restoration chops, took on marquee projects along State Street, including the iconic Chicago Theater, brought back to its 1930s glory. At the 1986 grand reopening, Frank Sinatra himself called for a standing ovation for W.E. O'Neill in recognition of the team that brought the beloved theater back to life.
So anytime an owner had an old classic theater, we were the go-to contractor to do that job.
There's one theater after another, all landmark facilities that they shined at in the 80s. And, they had a lot of industrial areas, big projects that people don't even know nowadays that we actually did.
And then there was Gurney Mills, the largest project we'd taken on at the time. This massive shopping mall showcased our retail expertise, with major tenants like Bass Pro Shop, Macy's, and Nordstrom becoming long-term clients and opening doors to national opportunities.
Having the resume of building the largest regional mall in the Chicago area gave us instant credibility when we were talking with a national retail client. Everybody knew how fast and efficiently we built that.
We got heavy into a lot of retail, building new malls or existing malls, renovating them. And over the time, they led to the next job and the next job and next job, and they got bigger and bigger.
Those relationships moved on to the different areas of the different parts of the country. And the people did too. Some people moved from here into the other spots.
And it opened up a lot of doors for everybody. A lot of good people came up from within, and they nurtured them and they brought them up. Whatever level you wanted to get to, you were able to get there.
As our projects grew, so did our commitment to investing in our people. Employee development is at the core of who we are today, with every job site serving as a classroom and every project an opportunity to grow future leaders.
So this all get lined with riprap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bottom base. It's going to be a boulder channel.
Yeah. Yeah, so we worked together out at Peak Innovation Park, a large infrastructure project. Dario came to us with really no construction experience, but over the course of a summer, got a ton of valuable reps and exposure, I think, on infrastructure work.
Given a lot of opportunities to learn now, understand the construction process from scheduling to building to doing, engineering work inside the office.
There's obviously in this business, there's a field side and an office side of the business, and some people gravitate to one or the other immediately. Others, it takes a while to figure it out, but it's kind of up to the employee to figure out where their strengths are and what they want to do with their career here at O'Neill.
As we nurtured the next generation of builders, we also embraced bigger challenges and opportunities in the new millennium. With the rise of .com innovation and a globalized world more connected than ever, W.E. O'Neill didn't just keep up, we scaled up. The 2000s were all about pushing the envelope, breaking into new markets and embracing opportunities.
I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. I wasn't sure. I was looking around, and one of the calls I made was to Brian Ramsey. Kind of jokingly, I said, "Are you ready to open that Denver office?" And he kind of laughed, and then a couple days later, he called me back and said, actually, we've got this deal in Santa Barbara, and if you'll come run it, we'll put together a plan to set up an office in Denver.
Rich Erickson became CEO in 2003. He made it more about teaching employees and training, and he started WeOcon, where a lot of our national employees get together to share knowledge, best practices, etc.
He brought focus on people. He was really integral in bringing the companies to be more cohesive.
We started to standardize, share people across subsidiaries. Today, we refer to it as a one-team concept.
The early days of the Colorado office, we were small, we were hungry and looking to grow. It really helped to leverage, the experience and the size of the company nationally to help us get a start.
I think that's a little bit of the secret sauce. They can have a relationship that will transcend markets. I call it getting the band back together. I always love getting the band back together.
I think the age of the 2000s was market diversification for O'Neill.
Rich's idea was, let's be diverse. We got to get into numerous markets here, not just stick to one.
You could pretty much go through a roster of Chicago developers and corporations that we have kind of worked with.
We had a reputation of being able to do those kind of difficult jobs and doing them successfully.
Who goes and buries a German submarine, the U-505, 70 feet underground at the Museum of Science and Industry? I mean, that's the perfect example of the type of project that kind of puts us above the rest. We built the Crown Fountain back then, one of the iconic landmarks at Millennium Park. Block 37 is another one.
The next transitional job for us was the casino for Harrah's.
It was our first casino project, tribal gaming project, down in North San Diego County.
It totally changed the lives of that tribe and its tribal members. They were a very impoverished tribe, and now they have one of the largest casino resorts in California.
They had 2 hotel towers. There's now 1,000+ rooms on that property, and that also increased our project size average. One of my best hires was John Finn. I hired him as a project manager on the Harrah's project, and John quickly showed the talent level that he had. He's an operations guy, and he's a strong builder, and he builds relationships and buildings very well at the same time. In 2013, when I became elevated to CEO, John took over the California operation and just took it and ran with it.
One of the pivotal moments of our work was building and executing 4 $100 million projects we had going on at once. And that really started to separate us, got us known in the marketplace. Everybody saw our signs everywhere. There was multifamily, there was retail, there was gaming, all going on at the same time. So we were really well diversified.
I think it opened up doors to be able to walk into a developer's office and say, hey, we can handle your $100 million project because here we just did this project and here's the client reference. They thought we were great. We can walk the client through it, show them how complex the project was, how well it turned out.
Building on decades of valuing our workforce, this era marked a turning point with our shift to 100% employee ownership in 2020, a change that sets the stage for the next century.
No one else owns it, just the employees. So if you're a long-term employee, you get a piece of the pie. And if you're just starting out with O'Neill, you're starting to get into the ESOP as well, and you gain ownership as your years with O'Neill go by.
I really feel like that drives our employees to work harder because we care about that in success, and we get to see our hard work pay off.
Our growth continued, reaching new cities like Nashville and Austin, and expanding into new corners of the country. With 12 offices across 6 states, we've built nationwide and remain focused on smart, strategic expansion.
We've gone from being probably a $400 million average revenue company in 2014 to 1.2 to 1.4 billion in revenues in the last few years. With that, we needed more people, so we started to add people.
Balancing the new opportunities while staying true to our core values is important. I think that starts with the people that we hire, retaining the best people. That's really who we are as a company. It's the people.
People that want their colleagues to succeed, that look for ways to help their colleagues to succeed. What more could you want than the people around you lifting you up, building you up, supporting you, providing opportunities?
If you're dedicated to this company and you're willing to put forth the effort, the sky's the limit.
I feel like all of my projects, I'm proud of every single one of them, that you can walk by and say, I touched that building, I helped with this building.
We are best in class in our asset class. There's no way that we would be in pre-con on projects 16 and 17 with O'Neill if we didn't believe that O'Neill delivers the quality that we need. They're good partners.
Making 100 years in a business where there's not many that have made it past 1 or 2 generations, it's an achievement. Whatever it is, I wish I knew it because I'd bottle it, apply it to my own family, and then give it to you. It's that valuable. It's a hell of a tribute.
2025 should be a year celebration that we celebrate our clients, celebrate our employees, celebrate our accomplishments that we've made, the monumental projects we've done, even going back as far as the Monkey House in Chicago. Our people are really why we are here. That's how we got here.
My daughter's only 4, but she already wants to get to the job sites and start living that life already. So she now recognizes our last name. She's like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's our name right there. I know, right? It's that sense of pride that I got as a little kid too.
From our humble beginnings with a team of Swedish carpenters on Chicago's North Side to leading large-scale projects across the nation, W.E. O'Neill has built more than just structures over the past 100 years. We've built great relationships, empowered lifelong learners, and united as one team. We've remained forthright in how we work and live, and taken full ownership of every challenge and opportunity. And as we look ahead, our commitment to build to last will continue to shape how we work, how we lead, and how we serve. And our leadership is paving the way for the future. Here's to the next 100 years of valuing people and building dreams. We're just getting started.